Aadhaar itself is voluntary.
Yeah.
However, if for a particular benefit, if the universe of beneficiaries of that scheme requires that all the beneficiaries of that scheme have Aadhaar, that's the decision of the organization implementing it. That's all that's happening.
So what you're saying is that I am not obliged to get an Aadhaar card.
Correct.
However, nearly everything I will need to do will require me to get an Aadhaar card, but it's still voluntary. I mean, you can see the tension in that approach.
It's sounding like a Khan market liberal. I think there are two parts to it. I think in the area of welfare benefits, the Aadhaar law has set down a very clear set of principles by which when a particular scheme notifies that Aadhaar is required for that scheme, they have to give adequate notice, adequate time. They have to make sure that all the people are enrolled in the system. Nobody should be denied a benefit, and in the interim, if they show an alternate identity, that's fine. So that's the philosophy of welfare benefits. When you enroll into Aadhaar, there are two parts to it. You give certain basic information, which is what we call as the demographic information.
All right.
Name, address, date of birth, sex, and email ID and phone number optionally for communication purposes. And you give the 10 fingerprints and the iris scan of both the eyes. And together that's called as the biometric. And you have a photo. The biometric information was absolutely necessary because we had to establish uniqueness across 1 billion people. And the only way we could do that was by using a biometric string, because that each person is unique in that. The biometric is used for the Aadhaar authentication. That is, you go somewhere, you want to do a transaction and the system wants to confirm that you're Veer Sanghvi, you can give your Aadhaar number and your fingerprint or iris, it will verify that. That's the only purpose of the biometric. Otherwise, the biometric data is simply not shared, period. And the law is very categorical on this, that the data cannot be shared. That's on the biometric. So that leaves the demographic. What is in your voter ID card? Name, photograph, age, address, sex. What is there in your ration card? The same. So that information is there in the voter ID system, and in many states, the voter ID list is physically available on the net. I think the philosophy for PAN cards or for driver's license is very different, because there the main purpose of using Aadhaar is to make sure that somebody does not have 2 PAN cards or somebody does not have 2 driver's license. People have multiple PAN cards. Now in India, everything is a racket. This is one more, right? So basically people get multiple PAN cards. And one of the requirements is that when you make a high value purchase, when you go and buy that jewelry or that Coach or Fendi bag or whatever, you have to give your PAN number. So you can use one PAN number to file your returns and give another PAN number when you buy things, so that, and you can buy that with cash, because a significant part of luxury purchases in India are with cash. So, or if you apply for a IPO, they allocate based on, or they used to allocate based on PAN numbers. So you want multiple allotments, you have multiple PAN numbers. So a number of such use cases where people had multiple PAN numbers. Now in India, we have about 250 million people with PAN numbers, and the number of taxpayers is only 40 million. Now it's very important that there will be a single PAN number per person. So in that particular case, if you want the whole universe of numbers to be unique, you have to say that everybody should give the Aadhaar number. Otherwise, if 90% of the people give Aadhaar and 10% don't, all the duplicates will be there. So I think the difference between benefits and statutory things like PAN card. Aadhaar has only 2 purposes.
All right.
Issuing a unique number.
Yeah.
That clear? You enroll and you get a number in the mail, you get it in a few days. And authenticating yourself somewhere for some purpose. So when, let's say that State Bank of India uses Aadhaar to do an authentication, that banking information, the fact that you opted an account number PQR and withdrew 500 rupees is known to State Bank of India. It's not known to the Aadhaar system. Aadhaar system only knows that you went and did an authentication in State Bank. What you did there is not known to Aadhaar system. Similarly, if you do something with the mobile company, what happened there is known to the mobile company, not to Aadhaar.
So the notion that the Aadhaar system therefore has a list of all your mobile calls, all your transactions.
Complete
is
nonsense.
Wrong.
Complete nonsense.
Nonsense.
Yeah, it's a figment of people's imagination. And that's my point, that there's a deliberate attempt to create this alarmist talk. I don't know what the agenda is. I don't know what the motive is. But if anybody who understands design, if he sees the design of other systems, how can you do surveillance with this? I don't know whether the Act says that, but yes, probably the Act says you can have, but in reality, the only purpose of the biometric is for deduplication, and that purpose has been served by the fingerprint and the iris.
Okay.
In any case, biometrics collected will be, the law is clear that it will be stored and not shared. It is absolutely secure. In 7 years, you have not had a single case of any data theft from the system, because I don't know the technology of it, but there's a whole process by which data is encrypted and stored in a very secure way. It is not meant to be an instrument of surveillance. It is a system meant to eliminate ghosts and duplicates, whether it's in beneficiary lists or in the driver's license or PAN card, and it is to improve the quality of governance. If I want to do surveillance, let me tell you that there are far better instruments today for surveillance. You are well aware of phones being tapped, and what does that mean for privacy?
Yeah.
Because especially with smartphones, anywhere the smartphone system knows where you are, because the tower, one is the tower where the signal is coming from, second is the GPS in the phone. So you have a device in everybody's pocket, a billion devices, which you can track every moment, and you can track where they are. That is surveillance.